Hi, is your Robotics and Artificial Intelligence exam coming up soon? Then this video is just for you. Because in this video, I'm going to cover the entire Robotics and Artificial Intelligence sample paper as issued by the ICSE board. We are going to solve all the questions in this paper, so it's going to be a great exam revision for you. We look at questions on robotics, the theory, on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and we are going to look at all the Python coding questions as well. So don't worry, I'm going to cover the entire paper, and make sure you watch the video till the end. And do share this video with your friends as well. So are you guys ready? Let's get started. Before we begin, just a quick reminder, do check out the courses on our website manochaacademy.com and our Android app Manocha Academy. All the links are given below. With that, let's begin. So let's take a look at the format of the ICSE paper for Robotics and Artificial Intelligence. This is what it looks like. So this is, as you can see, the 2025 specimen question paper, which is issued by the board, and it is a 100-mark paper, and the time you have is 2 hours. Okay, and answers have to be written here separately. You'll be given a 15-minute reading time, the typical ICSE standard, and this time is to be spent reading the question paper. That time you cannot write, so you can make your choices and stuff. So, and they clearly say from section A, so from section A you need to attempt all the questions and 4 questions from section B. So you are having a choice over there. And please guys, my advice is do not do extra questions. There is no extra marks. Rather, you should choose the ones that you can do best, choose those 4 and do it. If you get stuck in one, then maybe you can leave it and go to the other one. But please do not don't waste your time doing extra questions, because examiners are not happy to see extra things done. Okay, because they'll have to then cut off the last one or something. Alright, so now that we've looked at the format of the paper, let's take a look at the first question. This is section A, where all the questions are compulsory. So these are your MCQ based. So it says choose the correct options from the questions given below. Do not copy. You just have to write the correct answer only, right? So suppose if the answer was A, agriculture, you have to write A, agriculture. You don't have to copy down the question. So it says select based on this picture, in which field these robots are being used. So if you carefully look at the picture, it is basically a kind of a warehouse. What do you mean by warehouse? Where all these products are stored, like this Amazon warehouse or Flipkart warehouse, where all the products are stored, and basically robots are being used to quickly pick up the products from the shelves, because humans picking it up will take time, and it will not be so efficient. So this is clearly the application is the warehouse where all the products are stored. Okay. All right, next question. Which of the following is an example of probabilistic computing? Probabilistic computing means probabilities are involved, right? Where things are not 100% sure. So which one will you go for? Timetables? No, doesn't sound like that, right? Maps? Map the traffic could be probabilistic, but not the maps. Report cards, it's been finalized, right? Now there's no probability. So, but one thing is the weather forecast. Weather forecast, there is no surety, right? Like for example, will it rain tomorrow or not? What is the probability of rain? So I think the best answer will be option number D here for weather forecast, right? For probabilistic computing. All right, next question. Which of the following statements about cobots is true? So guys, what is the meaning of the word cobot? When you read this word cobot, cobot stands for collaborative robots. Okay. So what are these cobots? Because initially in the industry, they use these industrial robots, right? Industrial robots are where they work sort of in cages, or humans are not supposed to go near them because it's dangerous, right? They're constantly running and moving and you can get hurt. But cobots are the new trend where these robots will work like a assistant or a collaborator with the humans, right? Where some of the tasks can be done by humans, or the decision making, the other tasks can be repetitive tasks, can be offloaded to the cobots, and you can, when you go near it or you touch it, it will stop for your safety. So here, what will be the best option here? So they eliminate the need for human presence? Not at all, because they are for collaboration. The cobots work collaboratively with humans. That looks like the right option. Cobots are only used in educational settings? Wrong. And cobots are outdated technology? Absolutely wrong. They are going to be the future, right? So you can see these are all application based, concept based questions. So read the options carefully and select the best one. All right, moving on to the next question, guys. So a Tinkercad can be used to design and simulate the motion of a simple robotic system such as a wheeled mobile robot. Here's the next question, guys. Tinkercad can be used to design and simulate the motion of a simple robotic system such as wheeled mobile robots. Is this true or false? So Tinkercad is this web-based application or the software which is definitely used for designing and simulating, and so the advantage is you can do simulation, you don't need to buy expensive equipment, you can test it out and stuff. So here definitely the option will be option number A, true. So moving on to the next question, here it is. Consider the following block diagram of a control system in a robot. So what is the block diagram? You have input, the controller, the robot and the feedback. Okay, which component of the system is responsible for making decisions based on sensor data, right? So sensor data will basically be the input, okay, and based on that input, who decides? It is the controller block that decides. Okay, so here the controller block will make some decision, and let's say it wants to move the robot, let's say to the left, right or whatever. So it tells the robot, and then again it will get some feedback and the loop will continue. Okay, so here the answer is controller. Okay, here's the next one. What is the function of actuators in a robotic system? So what do we mean by this term actuator? So let's look at the option. To process data from the sensors? No, that is done by the controller. To control the power supply to the robot? No. To convert electrical signal into physical movement? That sounds like the right thing, because actuators are basically your motors and stuff where the input is electricity, right, or electrical signal, and the movement happens, right? So something like the motors and things involved here. So that is what you call as the actuator. The answer will be option number C here. And if any answer you don't agree, you put it in the chat. Okay, I keep coming here and looking at the chat. So next question, which of the following character is used to give a single line comment in Python? So this is a simple question. For single line comments, we are basically using the hash, right? So when you write something like this, so in Python code, when you write like this, so what basically happens is that during the compiling and running, this line is ignored, right? It's a comment for us. So correct answer is hash. Here's your next question. Camera is an example of which one, right? Is camera a pressure sensor? No. Then which option will you choose here? Vision sensor sounds like the right one. Solar sensor, motion sensor? No. Camera is clearly used in the computer vision domain, and it is a sensor for vision. Okay, here's the next one. Which of the following expression is the correct option for a to the power b? So suppose you want to do a to the power b in Python, right? So which expression will you use here? So a to the power b, this basically means that you are doing an exponent, right? So this is basically your exponent. So the operator will be using is exponentiation, right? And that is done by a star star b, because a star b is multiplication. And in Python, we don't use caret here, right? So a star b is multiplication, a star star b is your to the power of exponent, right? So for example, if you do 10 star star 3, come on, tell me in the comments what will be the answer. It will not be 10 into 3, 30. It will be 10 to the power 3. So the answer, that's right, will be 1000. Okay. So this is going to be 1000 here. Got it? Okay, people, next question here. So which statement about single board computers in robotics is correct? So what is the single board computer used for? Let's take a look at our options. Single board computers are only used for power supply in robot systems. Doesn't sound like that. Why would you use a computer for power supply? Single board computers cannot process sensor data. Doesn't sound right. Otherwise, why will I have a computer? Single board computers are used to control the operations. That's sounding correct. Okay. And single board computers are not suitable for use in a wheeled mobile robots. So single board are your onboard computers, which are basically used to control, right? They are acting sort of as the brain of the robot to control the operations of the robotic system. Clear? So your concept should be clear. You're not just guessing here, you're understanding, so that we are doing a revision here, right? And always in MCQ, don't rush to a particular answer. Look at all the options, because you have to select the best one. Okay. All right, moving on. This one is in the context of machine learning. What is the role of data? Okay. So if we talk about the context of machine learning, Data is used to execute predefined instructions. To provide examples for machine learning and predictions, sounds pretty much right. To store the robot's programming code, no. To manage and direct the robot's movements. So I think data is basically used for training, right, for machine learning and to make the predictions. So option B, and of course it is used for testing also, for evaluation. Here's the next one. The motor in a robot works as a or an which one? So motor, remember, does the movement, right? So let's say it's a robotic arm. It is the motor which is doing the movement, and so that we call as the actuator. It is doing the actual movement. It's not sensor, effector or controller. I would go for the first option, actuator. All right, here's the next one. Which statement best describes the Turing test? Turing test is the famous test proposed by the computer scientist Alan Turing that to check if the machine has, it's an AI test, right? That because what is the goal of AI? To replicate or to imitate human intelligence. So basically, suppose you have you're chatting with, let's say you're chatting with your friend, okay, and then you're giving it, you're sending it. Sending the friend comments and stuff, and the friend is replying, and so you feel yes, you're chatting with a human. But Turing test means, let's say you're doing with a chatbot like ChatGPT, it is giving such beautiful and natural answers that now you can't understand that are you chatting with a human or with an AI system, right? So that is what is the test, that you're not able to differentiate, and it is able to simulate the human behavior, right? So basically, the which statement best describes it? Measures the speed of the computer? Not at all. It evaluates a machine's intelligence, right? It tests human memory capacity? No. Determines person IQ score? No. It is for checking the machine intelligence or artificial intelligence, right? How good it's working. All right, next one. What is the primary goal of cybersecurity? What's the primary goal? To increase computer speed? Not at all. To protect from unauthorized access? That sounds correct. Unauthorized access means someone who doesn't have access to your, let's say like in your computer, you know the password, but somebody suppose hacks in, gets your password from somewhere. That is unauthorized access. It's not like suppose you tell your parent, that is authorized, right? You are telling them or you give them some authority to use it. But unauthorized means not authorized to access it. To reduce software development time and enhance user interface design, these are all wrong options. Okay. All right, next one. This is a assertion reason, right, where we have to check the Turing test helps in evaluating the intelligence of a machine. We just talked about the Turing test, and yes, that is the true. It is checking the artificial intelligence quality, and the Turing test checks if a machine can exhibit human-like behavior, right? That's what I told you. Like when you're chatting with ChatGPT, or with Gemini, it feels you're chatting with a human, right? So that is where it is exhibiting human-like behavior. So I think definitely assertion is true, reason is true, and that is the goal of the Turing test, right? To check if it can give human-like behavior. So I think I will go for the option number A. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation. Okay, moving on to the next one. What are the 4 W's used for understanding a problem in the AI project scoping? Remember problem scoping or project scoping? What do the 4 W's stand for? Come on, tell me in the comments. This one is a little confusing. What do you think? So the 4 W's or the famous 4W canvas, I think the correct option is, it is for who, what, where and why, right? So when is not included. Who means who are the customers, right? Who are the customers you're aiming for? What means what are you trying to solve? Where means where are they located? Are you trying to solve in India or across the world or in United States, right? Where? And why? Why are you solving the problem, right? What benefit will there be? Okay, so this is the 4 W's, and we use the 4W canvas to do our problem scoping, which is the first step in the AI project cycle. This is a simple question. What type of graph is shown in this figure, right? Or in this image, I think it says. Question is not complete. In the image. So obviously you can see this circular kind you have studied in maths. This is clearly a pie chart. Now what is this doing in the AI paper? Because pie charts and all these graphs, which stage are they used in the project cycle? Tell me. That's right, they're used in the data exploration, right? Where you're visualizing the data to see the patterns and trends of data. So that is why you have this in the AI paper. Okay, next question.
MCQ, what does the following code output? So you've got a string over there. This is Python code, string hello world, and it says print string 1:5. So this 1:5, this is basically called the string slice of the string. Now 1:5 means which characters I need to print. So remember, the characters are indexed from 0. So this is the 0th is the first character, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Space, by the way, is 5, and so on. So now 1:5 means you have to start from 1. So definitely we are not starting from H, we are starting from E. Okay, and we have to go up till 5, but not actually 5. 5 minus 1. This is very, very important, because in slice it is always end minus 1. So we are interested in characters number 1, 2, 3, 4. So the output here will be, we want the characters 1, 2, 3, 4. So the answer is going to be E, L, L, O. Do you guys agree? So the correct answer here will be option number. Okay, moving to the next question. The full form of idle. Have you guys used idle, right? When you install the Python software, the default IDE. What is IDE? Integrated Development Environment. IDE means where you can do your coding, you can run it, you can do the debugging, checking the errors. So that is called Integrated Developer Environment or Development Environment, right? But here this one they are asking full form of idle. That is Integrated Development Environment. This is idle. L stands for learning also, right? So Integrated Development and Learning Environment. Clear? So which operation can be performed on both lists and the tuples? So which one? So can you append elements, insert elements, access, delete? Access can be performed on both lists and tuples. Access, I think, sounds like the correct one, right? Accessing means getting that element, right? Suppose you say print, let's say for example, if you have some list like this and you say print list 4. So this will print the fifth item, right? From 0 to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fifth item, or you can do print some tuple 2, right? It will print the third element 0, 1, 2. So this is called accessing. Now can you guys tell me why can't append, insert or delete be true? Because for list it is true. List is mutable. Remember that important concept? Lists are mutable, but tuples are basically immutable. Immutable means unchangeable. So you cannot append, insert or delete. You can do that in a list, but not in a tuple. Clear? Okay, here's the next question. So now we have come to, so I think we are still in section A, right? The choice is not finished yet. So answer the following questions. What are some features of smart home robotic systems? So what basically it's what I've taught you also is that what is a smart home system, right? Or smart home, here we have smart home with the robotics. So this is definitely going to be the future, right? Right now you have smartphone, but in future you'll have the smart homes. So what is involved over here? So in smart homes, basically in the future, what will it will look like that basically you have all these sensors in your house, let's say to check the temperature, right? Or maybe the fire alarm sensor and all fire alarms still exist, right, with the sprinklers, but these temperature sensors and all are basically checking the temperature in your house, and let's say it's too hot or too cold, and the air conditioning system is automatically adjusting itself. Similarly, when you come near the home, automatically the door will open. It will the camera will look at you, recognize your face, it will open automatically. So there's this automation involved. There's sensors involved over there, right? And who's this controller? It is the smart controller where it can be, it is like today, this Siri, Alexa, they are able to control your home, right? They are acting as the controller where they are having they are able to communicate through different, through either your Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. They can communicate with the air conditioning system or with the lights, right? You have Alexa based lights where you can say turn it to this color, that color, and so it can adjust based on your mood. Okay, so these are the things, and so in your answer you can write like this, that smart home systems will involve automation. Automation where automatically the tasks are happening, right? Locking of doors, or you have this robot which is cleaning the houses automatically. Then you have this remote control. Remote control can be done through the apps, or Alexa and Google Home kind of stuff. And then you have sensors, right? Sensors is which collect the input like temperature, motion, light sensors. So these are the things that you need in your homes. This you can see sensors are collecting the input, the remote control, or basically this is acting as the controller, and automation is where you are having the actuators, right? Where the actual movements of the doors or the windows in your house. Okay. So that is what the future looks like for smart homes. All right. Moving on to the next question. Here we have cobots are becoming increasingly important. Remember we talked about cobots, the collaborative robots. In industries where human-robot collaboration can enhance productivity and safety. For example, in manufacturing, cobots can perform repetitive tasks while human handles more complex decision-making tasks, leading to more efficient workflows. With reference to the above, mention two benefits of using cobots in manufacturing. So what are the two main benefits here? So one big benefits of using cobot, because as the paragraph describes to you, is that it helps to like humans get tired or bored, we get bored of repetitive tasks, so that you make the decision and then you can assign it to this robot. So let's say your factory is manufacturing, let's say fans, right? Or suppose some geysers or something. So rather than human doing every step, right, the decision is made by the human, and then the cobot is actually doing the mechanical steps over there. So that way the efficiency is also more, right? It can run for longer without getting tired, without needing a lunch break. Okay, or maybe in future robots are going to ask for a lunch break. So clearly increase of efficiency, because the industry is all about economy, right? About shrinking the cost. And then there is also the safety aspect, because many times in this heavy machinery, right, humans can get injured. They can have their hand can get cut or something like that. They can have an accident, and where then you'll have to have insurance for all that. But here the advantage is that the robots, with the cobots, there'll be much more safety, and these cobots are also working collaboratively. So when the human comes near them, they actually stop. It's not like the cobot may actually harm the human. So with the help of touch or command, or maybe a voice command, they can stop. Okay. So those are the big advantages here of using your cobots. So the main points you can write over here is, one is the increasing the efficiency and the safety, like I described to you. Efficiency and the whole safety aspect. Here's the next question. Explain the role of gears in robotic systems, right? So what are the gears? You have seen like car has gears, right? So gears in physics or in robots, you know what we are talking about. So stuff like this. So these are basically your gears, right? And what they can do, they can help to change the speed of rotation, or they can help to change the torque, right? The moment of force. So all these gears can be used in your robotic system, just like gears in the cars, right? So they can help in changing the speed of rotation. And what are they basically used to? They're used to transmit the mechanical power, right, between the motor components. So just like in a car, they help to transfer the mechanical power to the wheels, right? So between the motor components, and they can help in changing the speed, increase or decrease the torque, right? Or change the direction of movement. So this is a nice model solution I've given you here, and you can note down these points. Okay, moving on to the next question. Differentiate between data and information. So data, you guys know, is basically like collection of facts and figures, right? Like let's say we collect a lot of data, you collect a lot of weather data or something, right? You're just collecting temperatures and all this. And information is where you're processing the data. Okay, so here, so you can write down, data means more of raw data. Data means it is raw, unprocessed. And information means that you have taken the data and processed it into some useful, meaningful form, right? Make sense? So here an example of the weather data would be that you're just collecting the weather data, let's say from the city, what was the temperature, the rainfall and all, and then you process it, you make a chart, you give me the maximum value, minimum value, the average temperature, right, or the average rainfall. So then we can extract some information, that is the city a hot or is it a cold climate, right? So that is what you call as information. Okay, here's the next question. Outline the steps involved in machine learning. So what are the steps involved in machine learning? Tell me. So one simple way to remember this is that the steps in machine learning are basically your AI project cycle, right? So what are the steps? So in machine learning, you can start off with the problem scoping, defining your problem, or let's say if the problem is defined, then we go directly to the second step, right? If the problem is already given to us and defined, then we go to the second step, which is basically data collection. You're going to collect a bunch of data. Then what do? Data exploration, where you're analyzing the data, looking for the trends. And then the key step is, based on this data, you're going to train a AI model, right? Like it can be rule based or neural network based. So this is AI modeling or AI training. AI modeling, which is basically your training stage. Now, once your AI model is ready, guys, what will you do? You're going to test it out, the evaluation or the testing, right? So here we can say this is model evaluation. So model evaluation basically means testing. You're testing out your AI model to see its accuracy, to see its performance. And then finally, once you're happy and satisfied, if you're not, then you'll go back and train it again. And then the final step you can write as deployment, right? So sometimes this step is left out, or but deployment is finally like, like the finally releasing the product, right? So like recently we updated our website. So deploy means once we put it live on the server, that is deploying it, right? So deployment means the finally releasing it or using your AI model for your project. Okay. All right. Here's the next question. So it says, what is the Turing test and what role does it play in AI? So we've already discussed about the Turing test. Remember, Turing test, the goal is to evaluate the machine's artificial intelligence, right? That is it able to imitate the human intelligence? How close is it? Can we differentiate? It will really pass the Turing test if you're not able to differentiate that are you chatting with a human or with a computer, right? Or with the AI system. So this is where basically if it is become indistinguishable from a human, then it has really passed the Turing test, right? And so the role it plays is it is basically checking your AI system's accuracy or performance. So it serves like as a benchmark. If it's not doing well, like in ChatGPT and all, they're doing the Turing test. Are you able to differentiate? So how will you test it out? You will make some humans chat with the AI system or with a human. And then if they are not able to identify that who I was talking to, then it has passed the Turing test, right? Next one. What is problem scoping in the context of an AI project? So problem scoping is, remember, the first step, defining the problem, right? That what is your problem? So problem scoping is the first step, right? So it is basically the first step where what are you doing? You're defining your problem. You're defining the problem that needs to be solved. And how do we typically do it? We do it with the 4W canvas, right? Who, what, why, and where. So what is the problem, right? Who are we solving for? Who are the stakeholders? Why are we solving it, right? How will it benefit them? And where, right? What is the location, right? Where are the customers? And so this is really, really important, because you may say, hey, I'm doing a cool AI project, but what problem are you trying to solve? So many times, startups or companies make this mistake. They think they're doing something great or cool, but if you're not solving some problem, or if problem is not well defined, so the importance is that if it is not well defined, then what it becomes vague, some random stuff creep into the project, right? Random goals, you deviate from your mission, just like in your mission of life, right? We have to stick to our goal and work towards it. So the goal should be clear to you. Okay, here's the next question. So this is a Python coding based. What will be the output of the following code given below? They have given you a list here, right? List, you can see it is marked with square brackets, and that's the collection of those elements. It says print the number in my list -2 This is very interesting. So we know the forward numbering, guys. Forward numbering, all of you know, it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this you can call as forward indexing. Okay. Now what is the reverse of backward indexing? When you start from the back, but this is not minus 0, because 0 and minus 0 doesn't make sense, right? So this is minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, when you're coming from the back. So my list of minus 2 means this element. So I think the answer here should be 40. Do you agree? Answer will be 40. This is basically your backward indexing. Here's the next question. What will be the output of the following code? So they are using NumPy here. Import NumPy as NP, and array, NumPy is basically used for these arrays. So array is np.array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are got this array over here, and we are printing array of 2. So again, the important thing to remember is that the computer indexing, in computer the indexing starts from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So print array of 2 means this element with index 2. So index 2 actually means the third element. 0 is the first, this is the second, this is the third. So I think the answer will be, output will be 3. Okay, here's our next question. What will be the output of the following code given below? Text is Python programming, and then it says print text of 7 colon. Okay, so once again, so here we have been given a string. Text means this is a string, and in string indexing starts from 0. So in the string indexing starts from 0. So this element, this index is 0, this is 1, this is 2. So basically we need to look for where is 7. So this is 1, this is 2, and so on. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, space is also a letter, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, space is 6. So 7th is this capital P, right? And colon, you can see there is no index given. So when no index is given, it means go till the end of the string, right? Otherwise, suppose it was given 7 colon 10, then you need to take the letters 7, 8, 9. Remember, end minus 1. This is the slice rule, okay? So this basically means 7 to the end. So my final output will be this entire word programming. This will be the output, okay? And there you can give the reason also. All right, guys, now we have come to the section B. So now we are on to section B, where you have the choice, where you have to do 4 out of 6, but I'm going to do all the questions. We're going to practice all, right, in the entire paper. So let's see what is this question. How do assistant robots in healthcare improve patient cares, and provide 2 specific examples? So these are theory-based questions where you have to read the question carefully, and it says give 2 specific examples, then you give that. So how do assistant robots in healthcare improve patient cares? So one is they can be used for therapy, right? Like for physiotherapy and other things, they can provide therapeutic cure to the patients, and like, let's say some patient has to do an exercise, so the robot can assist in doing that. And best part is robot never gets tired. It's very patient. Okay, only it has to be very careful not to harm the patient, right? And then another very huge thing which is now robots are being used in is robotic surgery, right? Because again, robotic surgery, like a surgeon may be very expert, but maybe that day he's very tired or stressed out, right? So there is chance of human error, but robots are doing it absolutely, and their their precision can be even better than a human. But of course, you need the doctor for making the decisions. But this is where robotic surgery is also becoming very, very popular. So they are definitely, robots are going to play a big role in the healthcare industry. So here I have given the model solution here. So they are because the advantages is they have increased precision, right? And they are reducing the medical staff, so the cost is coming down, right? And the fatigue also, and providing companionship, right? So in therapy and stuff, so it can be used for surgery, as we discussed, like they perform complex procedure with high precision, right? And minimal invasive techniques, or so they are definitely being used in robotic surgeries, and also rehabilitation. So basically they are recovering after a stroke or injury, so they can help in the limb movements, as we discussed. Okay, so that's your model solution there. Here's your next question. What are the main differences between subjective decision making by humans and objective decision making by machines?
So this is where again the machine or AI is playing a huge role, because see, like when we make a decision, so humans are very emotional, right? Our decisions are very much based on emotions. Of course, we think of the pros and cons, but there is always this bias in the mind, or we are driven by our past experiences or emotions, or sometimes that's why they say that don't make decisions in anger, don't make decisions when you are super happy or super sad, right? So that's why they always tell you decide with a cool mind. Cool mind means you're weighing the pros and cons, and it is not just out of a pure emotional this thing. And here machines, the AI, like for example, let's say you want to buy a stock, a share, right, in the share market, and then you're very excited when you're seeing, oh, its prices, you think its price will go up, or you're very sad if it's going down, then you feel like you want to sell it. But here AI is doing even better than humans, where basically it can make the decision without emotion, and that you can call as an objective kind of decision. Humans is more subjective, right? We are more based on emotions. Of course, there's pros and cons of that, right? So this is where you can say that our humans' decision is subjective based. It is emotion, affected by emotion, and robots are non-emotional, at least for now, right? Here's your next question. Write a Python program to plot a bar chart using the Matplotlib, right? So you can this library is very useful in visualizing, right? Bar chart, pie chart, and so on. And your program should import the necessary libraries, create a list of categories and their corresponding values, and plot a bar with the appropriate label and title. So here the main thing is you have to practice, because it's a written exam, so you need to know the function names to call. Okay, I'll be showing you the sample code, but do not just read through the code. I recommend you to write it down so that you remember the function names, because many times we know, okay, what is it, but when writing down we sort of falter. Okay, and here you don't have your Google or AI or your typing, right? In the exam you need to write down the code. So let's take a look at the sample here. So the first thing is that you need to import the necessary library. So in this we write this line, import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. Okay, so you are basically importing this library, right? And then you can put some example, right, like categories, apple, bananas, cherries, whatever, values, and now you're basically plotting the bar chart. So what will you use? You'll use plot.bar. Bar is for bar chart, and see, you're giving your X and Y, the categories and the values here. So we are using the plot.bar function, right? And see, nice comments also, it will be good to give some simple nice comments so examiner looks at it and enjoys reading your code. And now for the plotting, so you have to add the appropriate titles. So here you can give X label and Y label. So this is on the X axis, this is on the Y axis, and you can give a good title over there. And then finally to display it, you just do plot plt.show. Okay, so here I have given you the sample code, right? You can take a look at it. Of course, your data can be different here, but make sure you're writing the functions, and these are all case sensitive, so write it in lowercase clearly. Okay, these function names, and with the dot is used to call this function, or yeah, so like dot show, and here nothing we are passing in, so just bracket. Clear? So you can note down this sample code. Okay, here's another optional question, right? So you could have done question number 4, which says explain the key differences between traditional industrial robots and cobots. So a lot of questions on cobots. You can see, looks like their favorite. Why cobots are considered more suitable for collaborative tasks. So industrial robots basically means that let's say in car manufacturing, or or like we discussed the fan manufacturing. So these robots are there, which are doing the industrial robots which are doing the task, right? And now typically these robots will be there in cages for the safety of humans, right? Because they're doing this heavy movement, or if some human comes near them, they could have an accident, right? The robot could hit them. So here these are more for where humans are not collaborating, they're just turning it on and off. But cobots are where it is almost like human has an assistant, and the whole advantage is the goal is to improve the efficiency, where human is making some decisions and robots are doing the task, right? And so it is an interaction, and again safety is also ensured, because the cobot will basically switch off when the human comes too near it, or let's say if it taps it, or there is some signal to give that, right? So that is where the key difference is. So let's take a look at the model solution here. So industrial robots,
see, they use large. So your industrial robots are basically typically large for heavy, and they're caged off from humans for the safety, right? So it's almost like they are in the zoo, right? They're caged off for the safety of the humans, and they're designed for high speed and heavy payloads, and they work in isolation. Isolation means without humans, but cobots means collaborative efforts. Cobot means collaborative robots. So these are basically going to be the future, where the collaborative robots, they are lightweight, they are equipped with sensors to detect human presence and designed to stop upon contact. Okay, so they are definitely better suited for collaborative tasks. Okay, they're easy to program, and they are flexible and can be redeployed also for different tasks. Those ones are just specific for a certain task, right? So these are the important points of the cobot versus industrial robots. Here's the next question. Describe the steps involved in a machine learning project using the example of fruit sorting, right? So what will be the steps? So again, here machine learning project or your AI project, first will be your problem scoping. So your first step is problem scoping. So here you define the problem, what sort of fruits are you sorting, right? What will be their size, what is the goal over here. So that is your first step. Second step is you want to do this data collection. And in data collection, since it is fruit based, now it could be sensor based, or maybe it's camera based. So let's say it's camera based, and you're taking the images, you're collecting lots of images of the fruits, where you're collecting images of the fruits. Then what is the next step? The next step is your data exploration. So in this step, basically what are you doing? You have taken those images, and now maybe you are taking a look at, sometimes some images could be faulty, so you will throw away the faulty images, and you will try to make sure that you've got a good set of, let's say you're trying to sort apples, bananas, oranges, mangoes, whatever. So you've got a good variety, and you are making sure that you're analyzing the image and seeing that like for bananas, have you got raw bananas, green color, yellow color, and you have sort of sorted it and made your data clean, and you have seen that what are the type and coverage of your data is good, right? So this is your data exploration stage of your images. So you can say sorting and analysis. Then what will you do? So then we will basically, now here you don't have to check and say, oh, that's a green color fruit, that's an orange and all. You don't have to do the, so let's say it is supervised. So maybe you have done labeling, right? So it is labeling, or it could be unsupervised. So at least you have labeled, these are my oranges, these are my apples, and these are my mangoes, and so on. And then your next step is basically AI modeling. So basically here maybe you are training a neural network. So deep learning, neural network training based on the images that you have collected for the project, for the task, right? So a neural network is being trained to sort it, right? And then what will be the next step? So the next step is, so you train the model, and then the model evaluation or testing. So this is again where you have to be smart. Either you collect some new unseen data, or you separate your data into training and test set, right? Where test set is unseen, it is not used for training, it is like a new thing. And this, now you do your testing. And let's say you got an accuracy of 70-80%, then maybe you're not happy, you want to collect more data, you want to go back here and take a look what went wrong, do another retraining and all, until you get at least, let's say 90-95% accuracy. And once you get that, you're very happy with your project, and then you will go into deployment, means actually using the project. Make sense? So these are basically the steps that you will do in your example of fruit sorting. Okay people, next question here. Create a user-defined function is primed to accept a number and returns true if number is prime, otherwise false. Number is said to be prime if it is only divisible by itself in 1. So they've given you the maths explanation also. Now in this kind of coding questions, you have to be very careful to follow the instructions given to you, right? You may write a perfect code for prime numbers, but you have not followed what is asked. So what do I mean by follow? Look here carefully. It says create a user-defined function. So that means basically we have to use that def, right, for defining the function, and they have given you the name also. So def is prime, right? They have given you the function name also, and it accepts a number and returns true. So this function will accept a number. So how do you think it's going to look like? And then you have to do this true false, right? So make sure you're not doing 0, 1 or something, right? Or yes, no. you do exactly what is asked in the question. That is very, very important. That means, are you able to follow the instructions of the program given to you? So see, since it's a user defined function, I have to start with def, okay, and it will accept a number. So the number I can represent by x or n or something, right? So it will look like this, is prime. It takes an input parameter n, and now here I have to basically write the code. Now what is the trick here? What is the trick? So basically one simple trick you can follow is that the prime numbers, they have how many factors? How many factors does a prime number have? So let's say you start a loop. So you define a counter here. Counter is c equal to 0, and then you start a loop for I in range. Okay, so you start a loop. We want to do a loop. We want to go from 1 to n plus 1, let's say, or 1 to n. So I'll do for I in 1 comma n plus 1. And so basically I want to check if this number is divisible by I. So for I in this range, if n mod I is equal to 0. So if it is equal to 0, then what will I do? I will do c equal to c plus 1. What does c represent? The number of factors. So what I am doing over here is I am counting the number of factors in this for this number. So I am going a loop running from 1 to n. If it is divisible, it will be equal to c plus 1. And then what happens over here? Then basically you will come out of the loop and say if c is equal to 2, because prime number has only 2 factors, 1 and itself. So if c is equal to 2, then you will say return true, else return false. Does that make sense? So this is how you will write your code. So this is for the is prime function. Okay, does that make sense? Of course, your code could be a little different, right? Your code could be a little different. Here we've done from 2 to n, right? So we are not including 1 and n minus 1. So basically we are checking whether they are factors or not, right? But here you can use it this way also, where you go from 1 to n. So 1 and itself, and you check if it had 2 factors, then it's a prime, otherwise it's not. Here's another sample alternative here for you. Okay. The only thing here is that you have to have this extra check. So I think our code is better, because if n is less than equal to 1, because 1 we know is neither prime nor composite. And here if you check, our code will directly do that, because we know that 1 is neither prime. So 1, the number of factors will come out to be only 1. So it will again return false, right? 1 is not a prime number. So I think our code is a little better than this one, but you can use this sample code also, where it is going from 1 to 2 to n, and there you see we return, if it is equal to 0 you return false, otherwise you return true where factors are found. And here is an example usage also you can give, right? You input the number, and if it is prime you return this, you can print true or false, or this could be a better line where you can say it is a prime number or it is not, right? So here you can have in this code it is prime and not prime. Make sense? Okay, here's the next question. Define the role of sensors in robotics and differentiate between internal and external sensors with examples. So basically, what are sensors in robotics? Sensors are basically used to take your inputs. They act like this. It's a nice word, because sense organs, just like our eyes, nose, the touch, the tongue, they act as sense organs, inputs. Same in robotics. Sensors are taking in the inputs. Now, what is the difference between internal and external sensors? Internal means they're doing the internal measurement, like let's say the battery level or the motor temperature, speed, right? Those internal measurements. And external, where they are doing so they're measuring the system, right? The robotic system. External means external environment. So let's say they're measuring the outside temperature, right? Or taking some vision where they are capturing the images, right? Or the recording. So those are external sensors. So here basically we can see that these sensors are basically acting like your sense organs, okay, allowing it to perceive its external environment, right, and its own state. So environment and its internal state. So internal sensors, what do? Like battery level, right, motor speed, joint position, etc. For that we use encoders, potentiometers, etc. Right? And then you have your external sensors. External sensors, they monitor your surrounding environment. Like ultrasonic, they can check, the distance. We talked about cameras, right? Temperature sensors. Ultrasonic are used to measure the distance, right? If an object is coming close by. So almost like, the bats, right? They can check if they are near the an object or not. Okay, here's the next question. List the 3 ethical issues related to cybersecurity. So this all you should read the theory stuff, right? For your cybersecurity. So what are your ethical issues there? So one is that privacy. Privacy is very important because you want to the data which is private to you, right? You want to not give access to it. So that is to you want to prevent unauthorized access to personal data. Like for example, let's say your Aadhaar number, your details, right? So you want to make sure that there is privacy, because in cyber, you don't want somebody over the net to steal it, right? Or hack into your system and get access to that. Next one is, so that is super important. The next is data integrity. What is the meaning of this? So malicious alteration of the data which can lead to misinformation or system failure. So we want to make sure that, sometimes if some hacker comes in, corrupts your files or your software, so that can really make you lose your data integrity. So very, very important. And then the last one is basically your IP, intellectual property. So theft of proprietary software, right? Algorithms or trade secrets. So this is all, covered by patents. But again, let's say, the company like Microsoft or Google, if their code gets hacked, so then that is basically the software is what they are working on, right? That's what the developers are paid to make, right? And if that gets hacked or accessed, so that will be a great IP issue over there, right? Because their code can be reused by somebody else, or it can be used to find the flaws and the hacks, right? To again cause cybersecurity issues. So these are all the important things which you should list, and please look at the theory given in your textbooks. Here's the next one. Here's the next question. So it says a library charges fine according to the number of days a book returned late according to the following criteria. So you have been given that if the first 10 days you are charged only 1 rupee per day fine, for the next 10 days you'll be charged 2.5 rupees fine, and beyond 20 days you're going to be charged rupees 5. So write a program to enter the number of days a book was returned late and print the fine to be paid. So again, very, very important, guys, is to follow the clear instructions given here. So what are the clear instructions? They have given you a table and they are asking you to write a program to enter. Whenever they say this word enter, that means you have to use the input function, right? So we have to use the input function to get the real user input, and based on that, you need to calculate the fine to be paid. Is it clear? Okay. So let's take a look here at how the sample code looks like. So for example, you will have days. So you see, we use the input function, input, enter a number of days that is late, and then you convert that to int, and you convert that to an integer like this. Okay. And then let's say your fine is 0. So you start off with that. If the days is less than equal to 10, then the fine will be what? A fine will be days multiplied by 1. I know 1 looks silly to write, but then it becomes clear, and you can add some comments also over there. Now, if the days is less than equal to 20, right? So for the first 10 days, you are anyway paying the fine, right? So 10 times 1 plus the extra days. So days minus 10 times 2.5. See, very clear. And then else if it goes above that, then 10 rupee fine for the first 10 days, then 10 times 2.5 for the next 10 days, and then days minus 20 times 5 rupee. Okay. And then you print out your total fine. Done. So here's my sample code. Yours could look a little different. Again, see, use good. So your exam tips will be use good variable names, right? You can see nice names, fine, days, and all are used here. Make sure you put some nice comments. So the examiner should, or whoever the reader should, enjoy reading your code. You should enjoy reading the code, right? That if you look at it after a few days, it looks clear to you. What is the question? You can just see it from the code itself. Okay. So I highly recommend to write this, and see, again, input means you have to use the, enter means you have to use the input function. Make sense? Alrighty, let's move on to the next question. Explain the use of the Tinkercad. Tinkercad is basically your software in designing robotic components, and what are the advantages of visualizing motion in Tinkercad. Okay. So here let's take a look at these details. So Tinkercad is basically your web-based, right? Tinkercad is a web-based 3D modeling and circuit simulation tool. So it's basically a tool which is designed for students to allow students to design your robot parts and simulate Arduino based circuits before building them physically. So this is a huge advantage for students and even in the industry, that you are doing a sort of a simulation. So it is very cost effective, right? You don't have to actually get the parts. You can test out the system. You can see if your logic is correct. Then you finally build it, right? Because then you want to buy the correct parts, you spend money there, and then you build your the robotic system, right? So big huge advantage is that it is very much cost effective. Okay, no need to buy expensive parts to test an idea. And then error detection, you can see where the problems are, what parts you need or something that you missed. So that is a great huge advantage of this simulation software, which is your Tinkercad. All right, moving on to the next question. Explain how the phenomena of hacking can lead to data theft and what measures can be implemented to prevent it. Okay, so hacking is basically where they are getting unauthorized access to your data, right? So definitely the information on your system can be compromised and the hacker can steal it, right? So here you can write these points over here, that hackers, they are basically exploiting the vulnerabilities in the software or the network, right? So they are gaining your unauthorized access. And once they get your unauthorized access, they can basically pretty much do anything. They can copy, they can transfer, they can delete your sensitive data, your user data, passwords, etc. They can get your bank details. So it can be very, very dangerous. So now what are the important lesson to learn here is that we need to be careful, and what are the preventive measures that we can take. So what are the measures we can take? One is that keep a strong password. That's why it is recommended. Don't keep passwords like 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the first guess, you know. A lot of people keep password like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Or password is hello 1, 2, 3, right? So that will be guess, right? So use complex passwords. These days you have seen clearly in the banking website they say use uppercase, mix uppercase, lowercase, use numbers and a special character, basically forcing you to use something which is not easy to guess. Okay, so use complex passwords. And nowadays this new technology has come in, MFA, which stands for multi-factor authentication, right? Do you guys know what is this about? So like for example, so I'm using multi-factor authentication in quite a few of my things, where I first type in the password and then you have to go into this kind of Google Authenticator and all. There you'll get an OTP or you'll get a special number, then you have to put that in. So what is the advantage is that the hacker may have got your password, but they don't have let's say your phone or device where that code is coming that you need to enter. So it is a two-step authentication, right? One your password, one your from the device. So it becomes harder for the hacker to get access to both. If they get access to both, then that's bad, right? And then so MFAs you can use. Then you have firewalls. You have firewalls and antivirus. So these are basically software to block your unauthorized access. They can help to block it, right? And your antivirus can catch the check the if some unauthorized access is going on, it can block it. And then also very important to keep the software and the system updated. So you have seen those Windows updates and all. So they make sure, because they hackers, what they do is they try to take advantage of the flaws in the software, and these updates are basically patching up those flaws. So where the securities or the threats were detected, those get patched up. Okay, so keeping your software and the operating system updated with security patches. All right guys, let's move on to the next question, where it says write a Python program that performs the following operation on a list. See, again they've been very specific, and list of integers. So they are telling you that you need to create such a list. Okay, maybe they shouldn't have given the bracket there, that you should think what to put. Append the integer 16 to the list, insert integer 25 at index 2, sort it, right? Search for this and print its index and print the final list. And you have to do all these steps. So the main trick over here is to know the right Python functions. And how you can do that? You please practice coding, right? You can do it on a computer. You have the PyDroid app also on the phone or a tablet, you can do it. And then make sure you also write down the function names, so that in the exam you know that you can recall, right? What is the function name? What should I use here? So clearly here we need to, I think, use the append function. Append function over here. Here we'll use the insert function. Here sort function, right? And here for searching, I think you'll use that index function, and then you will print the list. So let's take a look at the sample code. Why don't you guys try it out here? You can pause and try it out. And let's take a look at the sample code here. So there you can see a list, remember, it is a collection of these numbers within the square brackets. That's for a list. So here we've got our list, numbers.append. We are using the append function to put this number right at the end. Then suppose you have to insert 25 at index 2, right? So you'll do 2 comma 25. This is the position. This is the number that you need to insert. Okay. Then you need to sort it. Numbers.sort is for sorting your list. Okay. And then you're doing the searching. So for 30 in numbers, right, you'll say number.index. Suppose you're searching for this. So you're printing numbers.index. So what is the index of this number 30? And then you print the final list. Simple, just printing it. And you can give, this kind of nice thing. Final list is this. Make sense? So one very important thing, please clearly follow the instructions, follow the steps. And you can write some nice comments. Don't waste too much time in the comments in exam. You can just make it short. Here you can see I've written more detailed comments, but you can just make it short also. Okay. But having comments gives a good impression that you have written the code well, and it becomes more readable. Okay, moving on to our next question. What does it say? So these are all in your choices, right? Remember, you have to do 4 out of 6. Explain the importance of integrating sensors, actuators, and controllers in a robotic system. So in a robotic system, you need all of these, right? Remember what is sensors for? So if you guys remember, what is sensors for? Sensors are like your sense organs. So sensors are basically to take the input from the external or the internal environment, right? And then is your controller. So that input goes into the controller, which sort of acts as the brain. It processes based on the input, it is able to make the decision. And then finally is the actuator. Actuator which does the motion, right? The motors and all, because finally it's a robotic system. It's not just software. You want some physical movement happening, right? Some physical motion. So this is the importance, and the whole integration means all these are connected, right? It's like one, like the input goes into the brain, right? So these are all your blocks. The input part goes into your controller, the brain, right? Maybe we can draw these boxes around here. So your sensors, this input goes into the controller, and that goes and tells the actuator to do certain motion, right? And again, the feedback continues. So the sensor picks up some more thing and it will go on like this, right? And so it has to be all well integrated and functioning together, because let's say you don't have any sensor, then it will not work, right? Input will not be there. If the controller is faulty, right, not functioning, right, it will not do take the right decision, and same the actuator will not do the right motion. Okay. So this is your answer, that it basically creates this integration, creates a closed loop, right? It will create a closed loop, and so it can function autonomously. Means it's like almost, sending the Chandrayaan to the moon, and after that it is able to take the input and work itself. We might have some manual override here if you want to tell it something, but it is automatically able to. The sensors can collect the input, the controller will process the data, the actuators do the output, right? And so without this, the robotic system will not be able to function, right? So without these components and the integration, so you can say without these components and their integration, your robotic system cannot function. Okay. So as you can see, there are lots of questions on robotics and AI in the ICSE paper. It's not just AI based or robotics based, both are there, right? Okay, students, here's the next question. Explain the importance of defining the problem statement in an AI project, and how does it impact the project success? This is the first, it's the most important step, right? That we have to define your problem statement, that what are you trying to do? Otherwise, why are you doing the project, right? Why are you wasting your time, right? So, or the team's time, right? So this is very, very hugely important, and this is a great thing I think they're teaching you, to define the problem. This is what all the companies, startups sometimes make, or companies make a huge mistake. Their problem is not clearly and well defined. So if the problem is not defined, or what they're targeting, then obviously the result will not be good, right? So it is hugely important in defining, and then for that, remember we talked about, we use the 4W canvas. So it is in what it does is it helps to filter. It acts as a filter, like what are the things you want to do, who are you doing it for, right? Who are your customers, why are you doing it, right? And so it helps you really define the project very clearly and work according to that. Okay, so the advantages is that defining it is the foundation. See, it is the foundation of any AI project cycle. So it ensures that the team understands, your team, suppose you should here act like the CEO, that you are defining the project, so everyone understands exactly what needs to be solved. Okay, so it prevents scope creep, right? You should not have that, okay, you're doing unnecessary stuff, right? Scope creep means unnecessary stuff, and it ensures data is collected. See, because if you collect the wrong data, right, data is collected for the relevant goal, because vague problem will definitely lead to failure because it's not clearly defined. Okay, so problem scoping is super important. All right, guys, here's your next question. Write a Python program. So see, a lot of coding based questions that perform the following operations on a tuple. This time they've given you a tuple. And again, if I were writing the paper, I won't put that bracket, right? Because now they've given you a hint that your tuple has the regular bracket, right? So they should just tell you put these elements. Okay, now you need to decide that square bracket or tuple which has the regular bracket. Access and print the element at index 2, convert the tuple into a list, right? Append the integer 30 to the list, convert the list back to a tuple and print the final tuple. So this all I've done in my coding classes. You can take a look, right, where we have done list, tuple. So all of this, so we have done this kind of stuff, and I think you can easily write the code. Why don't you pause the video here, try to write the code yourself, and then we'll take a look at the solution. So how's your code going to look like, guys? So basically tuple, remember, don't forget to create it with the regular brackets. So you can see that is a tuple. What is the important thing about the tuple is basically immutable, right? Once it is created, you cannot modify or change it, right? So it is immutable. So that is how you create your tuple over here. And then if you want to print, let's say the element at index 2. Index 2 means 0, 1, 2, position 3. So but this within bracket we put the indexing. So don't put 3 there, put 2 itself, right? If they said position 3, right, or element number 3, then you could have put index 2. And convert the list to a tuple. So how do we do that? Using that function list bracket. So my tuple, and see, you can give a nice name over here, my list. So again, you can see I put simple and nice names, and then append 30. So just use the append function over there. And then finally you want to convert that list into a tuple. So see, you can do tuple of my list and get it over here and simply print it out, and see, nicely give a print out what you're printing out. Also write that, so that the code looks nice and readable, and once again with some nice simple comments. Okay, so here take a look at the code. All right, let's move on to our next question. Question number 8, describe the process of building a simple wheeled mobile robot and mention the key components involved. So a lot of questions on your application and robotic based, and they're saying simple wheeled wheeled mobile robot. So how will you make this robot? Let's take a look. So what are the components you need? So one is, the components required here will be, one is chassis. Chassis is what you call the body, right? So the body, you'll definitely need DC motors, right? Because you need a wheeled mobile robot. You'll definitely need wheels, right? Makes sense. Motor driver, right? To drive the motor. So your L298N, so you can learn these component names. Of course, you'll need battery to power it. Then the microcontroller like Arduino, which basically acts like your brain, right? Which is controlling the thing. And obviously you will connect all these things with connection wires. So you should imagine you're doing the project, like you need the wheels, the motor, the controller, and then you mention these technical details as much as you can, as much as possible. Okay. So now what will be your steps? So first, obviously you will assemble the chassis, right? And attach the motors. So it's almost like, imagine you're making a toy car, right? Attaching the motor to the wheels. Then you connect the motor to the motor driver, because motor driver is controlling the speed and direction. Then connect the motor driver to the microcontroller, your Arduino. Then obviously you need to power the system with batteries. And then finally, remember, you take your code and you upload it. You connect your code to the microcontroller, right, to the Arduino system. You upload it, and the instructions go into the motor, and they help to move it backward, forward, or turning. Okay. So these are the rough steps I've given. You might write it a little differently in your own words, but remember, important thing is to mention the important keywords, right? And here as much as in detailing, you mentioned the parts needed, put in brackets. So because what they're looking for is that you know your robotic stuff, you know the key terms over here, right? Not just mentioning just general words. So that is the important thing to keep in mind. Okay, next question, let's take a look. List and briefly describe 3 ways of representing data visually. So how can we represent data visually? Tell me. So here basically we can talk about there are different ways to represent data visually. One of the popular ones is the bar graph. Okay, so one of them is the bar graph. So in bar graphs, you know, it looks something like this, where this is your, it is represented like these buildings. Okay, so let's say this is your data, right? And these are your values. So these are your different buckets you will put over here. And this is your values, your X and Y axis. This is your frequency or the value. So that's your bar graph, where again, you don't have to draw this out. I'm just drawing it for you, but you can write it in words, right? Where these vertical bars represent the data. Next one, what is another popular one? One is pie chart. You saw a pie chart in the paper also, right? Where suppose some total, let's say the total time in your day you want to divide, let's say you sleep through 1/3 of the day or whatever, 8 hours you sleep, right? So many hours you're, let's say in school, and then let's say study time and play time, whatever. And this is sleep time. So you divide it up. Well, it got divided too much equally over there, but I think you guys get the picture. Let's say it's exam time, so you're doing more studies than playing, right? So study is more than play, and during exam you're getting less sleep, right? So maximum time study, school to go for the exams anyway. So that's like how your pie chart will look like. And then another one you can have is the line graph or the line charts. So this kind of thing, right? Then we have histograms. There are so many ways, right, to see the trends and all. So you describe them. You don't have to spend time drawing them. You can just write it in words, right, where it represents the slices of the pie, right? And here it represents the trends using the line, okay, and give the names of these things, right? So, and they told in the question, describe 3 different ways of representing the data visually. All right. Okay, let's go on to the next question. What is the next question? Write a Python program that performs the following operations on a string. So what are the operations here we need to do there? We need to create a string with the value artificial intelligence. Okay. So they are telling us clearly create a string with that. And then it says convert the entire string to uppercase and print the result. Okay. Uppercase means capital, everything. Find and print the position of the substring intelligence within the string. Replace the substring artificial with machine and print the new string. Check if the string starts with machine and print the result. And count and print the number of occurrences of I in the string. So clear, lot of steps are given. Again, the main thing is that do you know your Python functions? Because that is the beauty of Python, is that we can do everything sort of just in a single line. Every step can be done in a line. So let's take a look, and then I will also show you the variable description table. So I believe in ICSE you have to write your variable description tables also. So we'll take a look at that, right? How to write it. So let's take a look here. So what does our code look like? So code is, you can clearly see, create the string. The string was told artificial intelligence. So put it within, you can put it within single or double quotes, doesn't matter. So that both work. Then you need to convert to uppercase. How do you do that? Text.upper. Right, so you are using the upper function. So here for the string we use double quotes, and here you can see we are using the upper function, so dot upper. Then next one we need to, what do we need to do? We need to find the position of intelligence within the string. So there you can do text.find, right? And then next one is you want to replace machine with artificial intelligence, so you'll use the replace function, right? You want to replace artificial with the word machine, so artificial comma machine, and then you'll check, does it starts with, see, all things in Python can be done in one line, dot starts with function. So it will print that out. And the last one is you have to print the count of, again use the dot count function. Okay, you're using the dot count function. And what did it say? It says that you have to count and print the number of the occurrences of the letter I. So again, it is case sensitive, right? So it will only count the small i's, not the capital I's. And here what you can do is you can give the sample outputs also, expected output. So here if you want, you can put the expected output and the VDT table. So let's discuss the VDT. So what is VDT? VDT table stands for variable description table. So what are your variables over here? And what is the description? Okay. And you can also give the type. So here you can see text is my variable. Text. So go through your program. Clearly text is a variable. What is the description? It is used to store the text, right? So simple, just write a simple logical description, store the text or store the given text, whatever, right? And what will its type be? I think type has gone out of the board. So let me write this closer. Okay. So description is it will store the given text and the type is it is str. Okay. It is str. So in Python string is the class, right? So it is str type. If something was integer, you would have written int. So there you go. And here for the other things, what else we are using? Text.find. Here I think we are using new text in the replace. So wherever you are using a new variable, put it in here. It is new text, and to store the replace text, store replace text or whatever suitable description. Again, you can say type is str. The new text, and I don't think we have any other variables here. So this is your variable description table. If also your teacher recommends, you can write the expected output also. But normally they have not asked you here. They have asked you for the program, and then you can build this your VDT table here. Clear? Suppose you had a number in the program, right? Suppose you have an integer or something, or this index or something you stored. Suppose you had a number, right? So suppose like I, and then it stores the number, suppose. Then its type, if it's an integer, you would have written type is int. It belongs to the class integer. If it was decimal, so if you had something x over here, which is at some decimal number, suppose in your program, then you should write the type as float. Okay. In Python, the type is float. Float is for decimal numbers. Okay. In this program, we didn't have, but so in very simple variable description table, you just have to note down all your variables. Okay. You have to note down all your variables. Sometimes teachers also recommend scope. Scope here it is through the entire program. If you have written separate user-defined functions, then it will only be in that function. Okay. But this was a simple program, so usually you don't have to write scope. This variable, its description, and its type. Clear? If teacher also says add the scope, then scope here will be the entire program. Scope means where the variable is visible, where it can be used. If you define separate functions, right, like we did a user-defined function, then it will be only within that. Make sense? Okay. And this is how your table would look like if it had integers also. So for now, I'll erase this because this program didn't have it. So hope all of you enjoyed this class where we went through the entire ICSE specimen paper for robotics and artificial intelligence. And as you can see, there were lots of questions on both, right? There were lots of questions on robotics and a lot of questions on AI and the Python coding. So make sure you revise the full syllabus well. So hope it was a great revision for you, and do check out the other courses on our website manochaacademy.com and our Android app Manocha Academy. All the links are given below. As you know, we have courses on science, maths, coding, AI and our IIT NEET Foundation courses. In our courses, you're going to get live classes, concept videos, quizzes, questions, mock tests and revision notes. So guys, do check it out. Do share it out with your friends and stay connected with us. And keep on learning, and wishing you all the very best for your exams.